Struggling to unlock Alpha's full potential? Ever feel like you're missing that extra power to carry your team? By the end of this video, you'll have the tools to dominate with the ultimate Alpha buff build, taking your gameplay to a whole new level. Welcome back to Pixelprowess. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most underrated yet highly effective setups for Alpha, the Alpha buff build. Now, if you've played Alpha before, you know he can be a beast in the right hands. But with this build, we're not just looking for solid performance. We're talking about controlling the battlefield. From increased sustain to massive burst potential, this build is going to help you maximize Alpha's abilities and become a true threat in every fight. If you're tired of coming up short in team fights or failing to push objectives, then this build is for you. Before we dive into the specifics, let's cover the essentials. To successfully implement the Alpha buff build, you'll need to be familiar with Alpha's skill set and his role as a fighter. Make sure your in-game settings are optimized for smooth performance. High frame rates are a must for executing this build effectively. In terms of items, we're focusing on War Axe, Sky Piercer, Hunter Strike, Brute Force Breastplate, and Athena's Shield for the fighter role. If you're leaning towards a tankier setup, you'll also need to know how to use items like Oracle and Queen's Wings. Lastly, understanding when and how to engage enemies with Alpha's abilities is key to pulling off this build. Alright, now let's get into the heart of the Alpha buff build. Step 1. Focus on maximizing Alpha's early game farming by prioritizing blue and red buffs. Alpha relies heavily on his energy and cooldown reductions, so keeping these buffs active is essential. Step 2. When building, start with Warrior Boots for added defense, then move into War Axe for the damage boost and passive. This item provides additional attack power with each stack, making Alpha more dangerous as fights go on. Next up, Sky Piercer and Hunter Strike provide a huge boost to Alpha's burst damage, ensuring that once you engage, you can quickly bring down key targets. For sustain, Brute Force Breastplate and Athena's Shield are crucial, especially when you find yourself in the middle of team fights. These items not only give you durability, but allow you to stay in fights longer and keep applying pressure. Step 3. Maximize Alpha's second skill, Force Swing, as it's your primary tool for dealing damage and regenerating health. Use this along with your ultimate Alpha charge to initiate and lock down key targets, ensuring that your team can follow up. Now, let's see the Alpha buff build in action. As you can see in this gameplay, the burst from Sky Piercer and War Axe is staggering, allowing me to cut through squishier targets while staying alive thanks to Brute Force Breastplate and Athena's Shield. Even when engaging tanks, Alpha's sustain and consistent damage output keep him competitive. Watch as I time Alpha's skills perfectly to maximize his damage while tanking incoming damage from the enemy team. To get the most out of this build, timing is everything. Make sure to engage in fights only after securing your buffs. Always use your ultimate to lock down high-priority targets like the enemy carry or mage. Also, be mindful of positioning. Alpha is a fighter, but you don't want to dive in too early or without backup. Utilize Force Swing to sustain yourself in extended fights, and remember that item activation order matters. Don't hesitate to switch between defensive and offensive approaches depending on the situation. Common issues with the Alpha buff build usually come down to overcommitting. If you find yourself dying too quickly, it might be because you're engaging without proper backup or mistiming your ultimate. Make sure to gauge the enemy's crowd control abilities and counter those with a well-timed Brute Force Breastplate or Athena's Shield activation. Another challenge is managing your buffs. Always prioritize them, especially if you're falling behind in farm. Keep an eye on enemy positioning to avoid unnecessary deaths while buffing. And that's how you master the Alpha buff build. By focusing on early farming, stacking buffs, and using a balanced mix of damage and sustain, you can transform Alpha into an unstoppable force in your games. We've covered every step, from the right items to the best strategies. And now you have everything you need to dominate. And don't stop here. I've got plenty more guides on mastering different heroes and strategies, so make sure you check out the channel for those. If you're looking to push your rank or just want to have more fun dominating the battlefield, you won't want to miss out. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also, if you've got any questions or challenges while trying out this build, drop them in the comments and I'll be sure to help you out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the battlefield.